This is CBC Here and Now.
Tonight, the confrontation over crab. The most valuable fishery has yet to start as protesters face off against processors. Fishermen insist they can't fish at the current price.
We are going to drown in the water, literally.
Kind of fighting for my life here, that's what I feel like.
The fact is, we cannot live on $2.20 a pound.
It'll be nothing short of devastating. It'll probably put me out of business.
On the other side, the processors, who insist they're also feeling the pinch of low crab prices.
The price is too low. The reality is we're selling off last year's inventory for this low price. We're not happy either.
Tonight, there are cracks with a few fishermen breaking ranks.
Well, I know it's $2.20 a pound is not a lot of money, but people got to make a living.
And for the communities caught in the middle, there's a plea.
Best hope is just everybody get back to normal. That men and women can get out and make a living and feed their families, pay their bills.
Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Here and Now. As negotiations continue in the crab price dispute, we have the standoff covered from all the angles. Heather Gillis is live at the harbour in St. John's looking at the frustration felt by fishermen on the Avalon, and Terry Roberts is live tonight in Lassie. And that is where we begin. What you're seeing here is the Sunset Cruiser arriving in Lassie. This was the first fishing boat in the province to break the weeks-long tie-up in the crab industry. Thousands of harvesters have refused to go fishing because they say the price is too low. Now, it was quiet on the wharf as the vessel docked today. No trouble, as many had feared for the crew that defied the union-led stand-down. So, Terry, you were there when the Sunset Cruiser came in today. What kind of welcome did they receive?
Well, yeah, so we didn't know what to expect, but there certainly was no, pitchforks and shovels. There was no confrontation, no harassment, nothing like that. It was mostly respectful, but don't be fooled here. Look, there's a real undercurrent of tension here in Lassie, and I'm sure elsewhere as well. Now, these are the guys right here, the six crew members right here of the Sunset Cruiser. Including the owner, Jamie Molan. You can see him here. He's got the American flag on his hat. Now, as you can see, they're a tight crew, and Molan told me today they're like family. Now, Molan would not do an interview. He kept telling me that, he said what he had to say on Facebook over the weekend, and of course that post attracted a lot of attention. He got a lot of criticism for his decision to break ranks with his fellow harvesters, others praising him, saying that, it's time to end the stalemate, time to go fishing before the entire season is lost. So why did Jamie Molan go fishing? Well, when I asked him that, he pointed at his crew. He said for my crew and for their families. He pointed at his boat. He said for my enterprise. He said for the very survival of my business. He said I have to earn a living. So he's taken a lot of flack, but he says he's received more support than he expected. And I asked him if he had any crab, and he said he looked at me with a coy look on his face, and he said, well, there's none on board. So you can read into that what you will. So not a lot of fishermen willing to talk about this today and go on camera. But here's what one supporter of Jamie Molan had to say when I approached him.
Me, I want to go fishing, right? I don't want to go away. I don't think too many other people do. That's my thought of it, It's time to get this show on the road. We fought for try to get a price up. Don't seem like it's moving. Don't seem like we're no farther ahead than what we was 5 or 6 weeks ago. So if the market goes up, we should get our share, whatever it would be.
Now, as we told you last night, there's a lot of division here in Lassie. Now, let me break it down for you. This is how I figured it out right now. So if you've got a larger boat, some of those you see behind me here, and you got a larger quota, and likely you had an increase this year because the quotas went up, you feel you can go fishing because you can make a go of it at $2.20 a pound. But if you got a smaller boat, and there's many of them here as well in the under 40 fleet, you got a smaller quota, well, you're more resistant to wanting to go fishing, and you want to continue this tie-up until you can get a better price. So there have been arguments. There have been arguments here on the point this morning between fishermen. So, there's, I'm told friendships have been ruined over this, and we're here with the CBC, and I've received, more than my fair share of rude comments today because we're here trying to cover this story. So I spoke with the mayor today, for example, and here's some of what she had to say.
The mood itself, it's almost like one against the other, and those people known each other right on up through their lives, and it makes it hard feelings. And I work with a lot of those fishermen, and they're the best that you can come across. They're family oriented, right? Everybody knows everybody. And it makes it hard when you see one talking about the other one and stuff like that. Should never be.
So we've had some developments this afternoon. We've learned now that there's been talks today. The Premier Andrew Furey had both sides together. He's been mediating talks between the FFAW and the Association of Seafood Producers. They're gone on break right now, but they're going to resume those talks later tonight. So there could be a breakthrough tonight. We don't know that yet. And of course, that's big. A lot of people are watching and waiting. Many people I've spoken to, their EI benefits are expiring, or they have expired. And a lot of boats are telling me, boat owners, they want to go, but they can't get bait and ice right now, so that's holding things up. So again, a lot of tension. And it's not just here in Lassie, it's also happening throughout this province, including in St. John's, where my colleague Heather Gillis is this evening. Heather?
Thank you, Terry. Well, the frustration here on the east coast of the island is also palpable. We talked to some harvesters today who really says this all comes down to leadership, and they're fed up with leadership. They want better leadership from their union, the FFAW, from the processors, from the federal and the provincial government. Now, we went to Bay Bulls, and that's where we talked to Jason Sullivan. He is one of the most outspoken fishermen in this province. And when it comes to Moulin breaking ranks out there in Lassie, where Terry is, while the majority of boats elsewhere are tied on, well, Sullivan calls that a publicity stunt. Sullivan, he's not fishing, but he thinks the end of this dispute is near. However, he does believe that harvesters can still hold on a little longer. And if, people do get back out on the water, he thinks there is time to salvage the season, especially since harvesters got record prices for their catch last year. Still, Sullivan is calling for a better process to bring stability to the industry.
And a lot of these people just had 2 years to get in $7 crab, and they're broke in May. So if they need to go fishing $2 crab now, when are they going to be broke? In September? So I don't really buy that they need to go right now, but I guess they're just getting frustrated. I think the industry could be much more stable and better overall for everyone, and we don't need to be going fishing for next to nothing, and we don't need to be boom and bust all the time, but you need better leaders in both the government, in the FFAW and ASP side in order to sort this out. But all they seems to be doing is wanting to fight. So you had since September, everyone knew the market was in trouble last summer while they were buying crab. I don't know if anyone thought it'd be this bad, but we always had the wait and see approach with the FFAW and get a band-aid put on it, and hopefully everyone qualifies for EI, and that's their vision for the fishery, like a stamp, as long as you can get your stamps. But the last few years have been really good. We had a lot of people wanting to come back to the fishery, a lot of young people wanting to get involved, and it was really great to see. Now all of a sudden those people are abandoning ship. They want to go find a career back over in the trades or whatever it was, but for a while there it looked like pretty positive. And if we had been able to stabilise this at around $5 a pound, overall you get some growth in the industry. And but I guess we're going back to square one again, where we're fishing for your stamps, and I guess it's just too unfortunate. Rural Newfoundland is losing $500 million this year, and then, if the government is proud of that, or the FFAW is proud of that, or ASP, it's strictly and mainly because of a lack of leadership on all their parts.
Now, Sullivan ran for the FFAW leadership earlier this year, but was disqualified. Now, he says if this dispute isn't resolved soon, he believes that the leadership currently of the FFAW should resign. Meanwhile, we went over to Petty Harbour, and that's where we also saw some frustrated harvesters. We met Ronnie Bidgood. Now, he bought half a crab license last year. He says he's in for about $200,000 for that, and now needs to start making payments at the bank. And like Sullivan, he is frustrated with leadership and has a very specific call about the fishery in this province in totality.
We definitely need a full inquiry into the Newfoundland fishery from government, federal government, provincial government to our union. We need a full independent inquiry into the fishery to see what's going on. Every year since I'm involved in the fishery, we got to fight. We got to fight every single year, right? Whether it's price, quota, going out, we always got to fight. It shouldn't be. It's sad.
Now we're going to hear a little more from Ronnie Bidgood a little later in the show, but when it comes to the leadership that both he and Sullivan had mentioned, well, the union and the processors, as Terry said earlier, are still negotiating. And even though the Premier has stepped into those negotiations today, the province's fisheries minister was also unavailable to talk to CBC News about the province's role in that. Reporting live for Here and Now, I'm Heather Gillis in the St. John's Harbour.
Well, the weather certainly beautiful today. Lots of blue sky out there after a little bit of a gray start for the metro area anyway today. Most of the rain held off. We're kind of in a bubble, but we did see lots of rain as we head through the overnight and into the early morning hours, at least for the eastern half of the island. We do have some showers on the go right now as well for central areas of the island. A little bit of a cold pocket of air up across parts of Labrador, and that's going to stick around for a couple more days. That means we're going to see the potential for some flurries, even some light snow in some areas, but topped off at 15 degrees in St. John's today. That is the warmest temperature since November. And then we do have those temperatures still in those single digits. So there's that cold air that I was talking about. Lab City only hovering around the 0 degree mark today. So right now out there, a beautiful evening. Temperatures currently sitting at about 14 degrees at the moment. Winds around 28 kilometers per hour. But if you take a look at where those showers are and zoom out a little bit more, we've got lots more where that came from. That will move in a couple of times through tonight and then into tomorrow night as well. We'll break the full forecast down coming up.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, we have an update now on a story we brought you last night out of Summerford. Now, the town issued orders to 3 residents there telling them to get rid of their livestock and barns. And one of those notices went to the Hawkins family, who was told they have to get rid of their pet pony, Sparks, within 30 days. So we reached out to the town to find out more, but the town tells CBC it's been advised against doing an interview at the moment. It did say that 2 of the 3 removal orders are now under review and expects the 3rd order will follow. And in other news, most parents with young children know childcare is hard to find. But a new report from the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives paints a picture of just how bad it is. They say 80% of young children in this province live in what's called a childcare desert. The report's authors say a childcare desert is a postal code area where there are more than 3 children for every regulated childcare space. Now, nationally, almost half of young children who are not yet attending school live in a childcare desert. Economist David McDonald says as the $10 a day childcare system is rolled out across the country, demand is outpacing supply, especially in Newfoundland and Labrador.
So the province ranks second worst in terms of the percentage of children that live in childcare deserts. And that's in large part due to the smaller towns and rural areas in Newfoundland where almost all children live in childcare deserts. The main city, St. John's, does slightly better with about half of children living in childcare deserts there.
McDonald says St. John's ranks the worst out of 37 Canadian cities when it comes to infant care. For children under 18 months, he says there is only enough child care for 5% of children that age. McDonald also says virtually all children in rural areas live in child care deserts, but that it's not impossible to provide care in smaller areas.
And it does happen in other parts of the country and even in Atlantic Canada. So Prince Edward Island, for instance, and New Brunswick rank much better than Newfoundland, and they have plenty of rural areas. Even rural parts of Quebec, think of northern Quebec, which is very rural, similar to what you would see in northern Newfoundland and Labrador. Coverage rates there are still pretty good and far better than they are in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Well, if you're driving along Harvey Road in St. John's, this new mural might catch your eye. The Come Home mural was officially unveiled today. It celebrates the meaning of home for people in the province. The mural's design is attached to aluminum panels and attached along the section of Harvey Road just below the rooms. It's designed to depict a day from morning to evening or evening to morning, depending on how you pass by it. It focuses on the urban landscape and the plants and wildlife found in this province. It was funded by the City of St. John's, provincial government, with support from the rooms.
Our main idea was based around a night to day or day to night, depending on which direction you're coming from, so it works from both. The way we approached the collaboration was to create a scene that Lily would take the left and I would take the right, and we met in the middle to create a aquarium-style ocean scene that is going to be really fun for people of all ages to interact with, see things that they're familiar with.
Well, you're looking at a live shot of beautiful Lassie. We'll have more coverage from Heather Gillis and Terry Roberts on the stalled snow crab season. That's ahead after Ashley's weather.
Well, we have a few things to talk about. First, some showers. Then, this is not cloud cover. It's in fact some wildfire smoke. We'll talk all about that when I come back. Look at that one over there.
Tomorrow on Here and Now, an iceberg tour like no other. We'll take you aboard the International Ice Patrol and show you how this eye in the sky helps keep the seas safe.
It's very small, unique community within the U.S. Coast Guard, and it feels great to be a part of it.
Iceberg spotting from above, you don't want to miss it. That's tomorrow on Here and Now.
This weather update is brought to you by the Healthcare Foundation Home Lottery. The absolute final deadline is midnight Friday, June 2nd. Order tickets now at hcfhomelottery.ca.
Check out this incredible video captured by Brendan Gould.
Oh, wow, that is incredible. It's the pack ice in St. John Bay. That's on the western side of the Northern Peninsula.
Yeah, and if you look closely, you may be able to spot some dolphins down there.
Yes, I can see them down there. Wow, there's quite a few of them.
There's quite a few.
Yeah, hopefully, hopefully you don't get trapped.
Safe.
We've had so many terrible dolphin ice pack stories this year, so but they look like they're in open water, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and still lots of pack ice around. We saw in Lassie as well behind Terry Roberts, all of the ice down there. So.
Yeah, there's still quite a bit out there for sure, especially along coastal areas of Labrador. If you take a look at this satellite radar picture there, you can see off Labrador for sure, through the strait, still seeing a lot of that pack ice. But the winds at the moment, not overly impressive to move that out. We really want southerly winds of some sort to push that ice pack out of the strait. And, you know, hopefully as we see the temperatures climbing over the next couple of days, hopefully that will happen. But for now, we've got not a whole lot of weather on the go. Area of low pressure and a cold front. We do have a few showers, but for the most part, we saw some clear skies today, which was certainly nice out there, leading to temperatures that were well into the teens, 15 degrees in fact for St. John's. Areas in onshore flow though a little cooler than that, into the single digits. Terra Nova, Badger, all reaching double digits, 16 degrees today, but that cold air still very much in place, or cooler air I should say, still very much in place up across Labrador. Cold spot today was in Lab City. Happy Valley Goose Bay, you reached 3 degrees today. So we do have those temperatures still sitting around 14 in St. John's. A beautiful evening out there right now with lots of sunshine. Temperatures really across the board starting to cool down a little bit, but still 14 degrees in Gander, 14 in Badger as well. Down to about 9 in Corner Brook, and those temperatures across Labrador still into the single digits. So that's pretty much going to cool down as we head through the overnight tonight. We've already got some showers on the go for the west coast, and as we head through the night tonight, those showers are going to continue to work their way further east. In fact, turn to rain by the time we get into midnight for most areas. We're still looking at the chance of some snow. For coastal areas of Labrador, Northern Peninsula, you'll likely see that as we head towards the early morning hours. Wet snow, whatever does fall, but most of us will be seeing that shower activity by the time we get into early tomorrow morning. So temperatures should stay above zero for the most part across the island, 3 to 5 degrees. Now the Northern Peninsula, you're going to stay a bit cooler, hence that potential for some snow. You'll hover around 0 in St. Anthony, -1 along the strait, and much cooler though as you head towards Labrador. So Cartwright -5, coolest will be in Lab City, which is no different from today as you'll hover around -9. Now, most of us will be seeing generally light winds through the overnight as well. Now, showed you the forest fire smoke a little bit earlier. We're certainly seeing that across the maritime provinces, and the reason for that is all of this wildfire activity in the western portion of Canada. So it's following the jet stream, and as we head through to tomorrow, in fact, it does look like we should see some wildfire smoke for Newfoundland and Labrador by the time we get into tomorrow morning, and then continuing through a good chunk of the afternoon as we see that trough move through. It's going to, you know, bring some of that wildfire smoke with it. Now it'll be higher up in the atmosphere, and we are going to see some shower activity as we head through the day tomorrow. So we likely won't see any of the effects of it, but once we clear out, there is a chance that we'll see some hazy skies out there. So if that's what if you see that, that's what it is. So shower activity expected through a good chunk of the afternoon tomorrow. Some rain will move in towards the evening hours. Best chance of seeing that snow, or at least some flurry activity, will be towards coastal areas of Labrador. Now, the northern peninsula, you could pick up about 2 to 5 centimeters of snow, but again, the most of the rain will fall. It looks like for the southern Avalon, in fact, we could be talking about 15 to 25 millimeters of rain, again falling tonight, but the most of it falling through the night on Wednesday and into Thursday morning. Temperatures will be cool along the south coast in that onshore flow. Windy conditions tomorrow out of the southwest between 40 and 60 kilometers per hour. Still hanging on to the teens. Cooler as you head towards the west. Northern peninsula, you'll be sitting in the single digits. Of the long range forecast coming up in a bit.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, talks between the FFAW and the Association of Seafood Producers are expected to continue this evening. The snow crab fishery has stalled over the season's low price of crab. And let's return now to the small boat basin in St. John's Harbour. That's where Heather Gillis is tonight. So, Heather, this tie-up is raising some bigger issues for some fishermen. What are you hearing?
Well, earlier in the show, Carolyn, we spoke with Ronnie Bidgood out in Petty Harbour, and for him it's about more than the price of snow crab. And even though this dispute is ongoing, he says he would rather stay tied up at the wharf than fish for $2.20 a pound. And it's brought up a lot of other issues that he has with the fishery. Here's part of our conversation.
To run my boat this year, I bought a license last year, and probably at $2.20 a pound. You know, I'm only looking at probably $58,000 worth of product, right? And right now I'm looking at a bank payment alone between $25,000 and $30,000. Then I got to pay crew, bait, fuel, my licensing fees for the year. It's just not feasible, right? You know, I'd sooner, you know, stay tied up to the wharf and go bankrupt than to go on the water and to give it to who I call the cartel of the fishing industry. And it's 2 or 3 processors who are absolutely, you know, our government, right from provincial government to federal government to our union, gave full control to the processor. And the processor right now is like, I bought into this and paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be my own boss, to come and go when I want to go. And now the processor is telling us how much he's going to pay us, when to go, and how much to bring in. He even got us on trip limits, which to me, trip limits is a major safety concern for people in the inshore under 4911, right? And trip limits is driving our expenses up, where we got such small quota to deal with. Right? The processors now, like I said, you know, our government let this happen, and one prime example of what's going on is our government just let Royal Greenland buy out Quincy, and that to me is not a nail in the coffin, it's a stake in the coffin. And the writing is on the wall right now. Like, I hate to see 10 years down the road, I would be thinking that Royal Greenland is going to own everything, right? And you know, to me, there should be an independent inquiry into the Newfoundland fishery overall, from provincial government to federal government to our union. There should be a full inquiry, independent whatsoever, to see what's going on. And I'll give you an example to what I'm saying there. We're 31 years into a cod moratorium. And what has our government done to try to make our cod fishery better? They've done absolutely nothing. Zero. For anybody to look at this in 31 years after a cod moratorium, and our cod fishery is in a worse state than what it was previous to the moratorium.
How do you think that this dispute currently will be resolved? What do you think needs to happen?
To me, what needs to happen is ASP and the processors, they should give us a fair market share. Give us back like probably 42% of a share market, because like I said previous, the last 2 years we've been up to like 51-52%, and now this year all of a sudden we're down to 28%. So I think, like, even at 220, it is a smack in the face. But I think if we got a fair market share of 42%, I think everybody will be back fishing. Okay. Because it's not only us guys who is hurting from this. It's the spin-offs, that come from this. It's the convenience store over the road. It's the takeout up the road. You know, everybody, you know, it's impacting a lot of people.
There you go. This particular harvester calling for an inquiry into how the fishery in this province is run. His concerns run the gamut from corporate concentration of processors to issues with trip limits, especially for smaller inshore and nearshore harvesters like himself. Reporting live near St. John's Harbour, I'm Heather Gillis for Here and Now.
I don't see much hope of an immediate increase in price. You don't have any leverage here.
Holding out for higher prices, but could there be long-term damage as a result of the snow crab standoff? I'll speak with an analyst, but first, we'll have more from Terry Roberts live in Lassie. That's just ahead after the break. lot from fishermen tonight, but the impact of this crab dispute goes far beyond the wharfs. People in the fishing communities are also feeling it. Terry Roberts has been talking to community leaders in Lassie. He joins us now live. So Terry, what are they telling you?
Yeah, well, they're telling me, look, it's hard to watch. We're here in Lassie. If you look behind me, it's a community of about 800 plus people. And this community is here because of the fishery. But it's going through a lot of upheaval right now. And not just because of all this uncertainty in the crab industry. No, not one, not two, but 3 mines in this area have closed in recent months. So, the economic fallout from that is also being felt here. So if you're a leader in this community right now, this is hard to watch and it's hard to deal with. So I spoke to a couple of them today, and here's some of what they had to say.
Well, we've got some young blood that stayed around in their own community. But over time, when it comes to a point when we lose those young ones because they can't make it in the fishery, then we're going to lose those people. And that makes it hard for the town itself.
People are wondering what's going to happen for their livelihood, and not only for now, the summer months, but come the winter, how they're going to survive. There is a mood over this town. It seems like it's dark, it's dismal. My worst fear at this moment is that there will be a war, friend amongst friend, family member against family member, because right now the tension is so high it could lead that way.
We've got some that want to get up and go. They want to get up in the morning, they want to go to work. We got more that want to stay in with their fellow fishermen, which is to be expected. But we don't know their situation. Like, you can look at someone and say, oh, they're well-to-do. They don't mind having to stay in. But there's other people, you don't know their situation.
I talked to 2 ladies, and right now they can't see a light at the end of this tunnel. Right now they're saying, well, 7 weeks are gone. We'll never get those 7 weeks back. And so they're just worried. Am I going to get enough money to get me through the summer? How am I going to feed my family? How am I going to pay my bills? And so they're carrying a great burden.
Best hope is just everybody get back to normal, and that men and women can get out and make a living and feed their families, pay their bills. Not for people to get up and have to move away.
For those that are listening today, please put yourself in their situation, the fishermen, not only the boat owners, but of course the crew and the truck drivers. It affects every one of us. It affects the small businesses. And of course it do affect the clergy, because we carry the burdens with them.
So that's another sobering snapshot of how life is playing out right now on the Bayvert Peninsula, and especially here in Lassie. So we'll have more on that in the days to come. Reporting live from Lassie, I'm Terry Roberts for Here and Now.
Well, as fishermen and processors continue the standoff over crab prices, the fishing season is well underway in other provinces like Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, where harvesters are on the water catching their quota. So what effect could this crab dispute have on the industry in this province? Is there a risk of long-term damage? Here to explore that side of the story is industry analyst John Sackton, who's in Massachusetts. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
So harvesters in this province have been holding out for higher crab prices. Do you think that there is any chance that they'll get what they want? Like, do you see anything on the horizon that could lead to an increase in price?
I don't see much hope of an immediate increase in price. I think the situation here in the commodity market is that when the buyers are changing their buying pattern with your product, you don't have any leverage here. And the only thing that would change that situation is a change in the market dynamic where the producers and the harvesters regain the leverage that they used to have. And unfortunately, I don't see that happening in the near term. And in fact, that loss of leverage and loss of pricing power isn't just happening with crab, it's happening in seafood products across the entire spectrum.
Well, I mentioned that crab is still being caught in the Maritimes. The product is being processed and sold elsewhere. How worried do you think processors in this province should be that they could miss out on this season?
Well, let's talk about this from a processor perspective for a minute, because unfortunately, going into this season, a lot of the processors were still holding unsold inventory, which was unusual. This is a change in the kind of business practice. In the past, it used to be that processors would pack their crab for the season, they'd sell it to distributors, and they would be done. But in the last couple of years, especially as the sales slowed down, the distributors just wouldn't take it. And so a lot of the processors had significant quantities of unsold crab right at the beginning of the season. And from their point of view, the delay is allowing them to sell down this inventory. Now, they're losing money on every pound they sell, but at least they're getting it out the door. So if a processor's break even was X, and these are not real numbers, but let's just say if the processor's break even was $6 a pound, they're accepting $4.65 a pound, and it's better than zero. But they're still losing money on every pound they ship because they paid a higher cost and they've had storage costs as well. So from the processor's point of view, there is not a real incentive to start packing crab so long as they can sell their existing inventory.
We've heard concerns from the fisheries minister that this dispute could damage the reputation of the province's fishing industry. What do you think about that?
It's already damaged. I mean, the reputation of the industry is terrible right now because of the incredible price cycle that we've gone through, where prices went up on the wholesale level to $15, $16, $17 and then crashed right back down again. And that kind of volatility will scare away any buyer. And so people just don't expect that they can sort of trust the crab production. And you add, the delay and the disputes and the start of the season and so forth. And it's a mess. And everybody who's outside of the industry, let's say on the purchasing side or whatever, also thinks it's a mess. And so they're not eager to step up. They don't feel it's their job to clean it up.
So many factors at play. John Sackton, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate this.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you very much.
Sheep shearing is not something we see a lot of here in Newfoundland and Labrador, but a couple of pros came to town and they're going to show me how to shear a sheep. Spoiler alert, I'm terrible at it. That story coming up tomorrow on Here and Now. Thanks, Amber.
Thanks, Jeremy. Your name's Jeremy, right?
Yes, it is. Perfect, perfect.
Well, we've heard from fishermen in Lassie who are going out fishing for crab, but not everyone in the community agrees with that approach. Jamie Lee Foss only recently bought his fishing enterprise. He explained his position to Terry Roberts.
That one man don't speak for this community, and we all won't be on top of the run with knives and everything else waiting for you when you get here.
Okay, so at $2.20 a pound, a lot of people say, look, $2.20 sucks. How bad is $2.20 for you? And because, like you said, you're a recent entry, big investment. How bad would it be if you got to fish for $2.20?
Devastating. I don't know how else to put it. And I know this is going to be, everybody's going to be watching this, but I'm kind of fighting for my life here. That's what I feel like. It'll be nothing short of devastating. It'll probably put me out of business. If not this year, it'll definitely put me out of business next year. I won't be able to sustain a couple years with prices like this. There's no way.
Okay, so you have one enterprise owner from here, Jamie Molan, who it became very public over the weekend. He made a very public post on Facebook as to why he was going fishing. He had his crews to think about, he had those families, and he had his enterprise to think about. Do you support what him and others are doing? Because I hear that other boats are going to the crab grounds today.
I can't say I support what he did. No, I can't say that. I won't be on the wharf to throw gas over his crab when he gets in either. But no, I don't really support it. Everybody is fighting for their lives here. I mean, no one needs to fish more than me and my crew. And that's, in my mind, that's why I'm doing this. I'm just trying to support the rest of the tie-up for now. And everybody's in a hard spot and everybody's drove to the edge. But for me personally, I got to make my own decisions. I'm more focused on turbot this year or whatever. That's just me. That's my personal view. At $2.20, no, I'd rather fish other species.
I'm sensing a lot of division in the ranks of harvesters. How much in Lassie is this place divided right now?
Of course, it is. Now, like I said, everyone's trying to not step on toes. Everybody's on edge right now. I mean, everyone. And there's bad friends being made. It's not worth it. It's a sad scene.
Well, if you're traveling with WestJet this week, your flight plans could be up in the air. A 9-month labor dispute between the company and pilots has reached a boiling point. Pilots issued a strike notice last night, warning they could walk off the job on Friday. But the airline threatens to lock them out before then. Nearly 2,000 pilots at WestJet and Swoop are fighting for better pay, job security, and scheduling changes. WestJet says travelers can rebook or be accommodated for cancellations. But with the long weekend looming, travelers may expect chaos at the airport. Well, Ottawa has introduced proposed changes to reform Canada's bail system. The Liberals say the bill will crack down on repeat violent offenders and offenses involving firearms and other dangerous weapons. The changes come after ongoing calls for tougher laws from the province's police and opposition parties.
Crucially, these proposed reforms signal that repeat violent offenders who pose a risk to community safety should not be released while awaiting trial.
Now, the proposed reforms would create a reverse onus system for some offenses, which would require individuals to prove in court why they should be released on bail before trial. The changes will also include cases where alleged crimes involve intimate partner violence. Well, shifting winds are posing a challenge today in the fight against wildfires in Alberta. More communities have been ordered to leave. Residents in the town of Valley View, northwest of Edmonton, are among the latest to be issued mandatory evacuation orders. There are nearly 90 wildfires and more than 24 are burning out of control. About 20,000 people are out of their homes. 36 communities are under threat from flames. Air quality advisories from wildfire smoke cover large parts of the province. And stay with us. Ashley's forecast is just ahead after the break. Well, so much for No Mow May. It turns out even bees like junk food, maybe as much as humans. Now, some biologists are asking us not to leave dandelions on our lawns, saying it's wasted nutrition that bees should not be eating. Surprising news to me, for sure. PEI reporter Laura Meter has more.
Of course, their leaves are quite indented like that.
Kate McQuarrie says the best use for dandelions might be for humans, harvesting the leaves for salads or cooking. But when it comes to the value of the pollen, she says these flowers are like junk food for bees.
If you're leaving them for the bees, you're not really helping, and in fact, maybe doing more harm than good.
She says they're not as nutritious as other native wildflowers and hopes people rethink No Mow May and leaving lots of dandelions.
So No Mow May started in Europe, and dandelions are native there. And I really think the message was intended to be let native wildflowers grow, and that's a fantastic message. But in North America, it's kind of been twisted to let dandelions grow, and that's not really what we'd like to encourage.
This time of year, plants like willows and alders are better for bees. McQuarrie says people should do what they can to encourage native shrubs and trees and just let even a little part of their lawn go wild. As for people, McQuarrie says dandelion leaves are high in vitamins and iron, even better than kale or spinach. She says the younger leaves are less bitter and they taste better before the plant blooms.
I also think a lot of people think they don't like them because they may have just tried them raw from older plants, and they really are bitter and not very good that way. But younger leaves or cooked older leaves, that's where you want to go. I kind of like to cook them with bacon because everything's better with bacon.
She hopes people will leave a few if they want to eat them, but don't leave lawns filled with them. Because remember that junk food analogy? Bees can't resist them.
If there's lots of dandelions around, they'll pick those rather than the healthier pollen that's better for them. Kind of like us, right? We'll go to the junk food or dip into the bag of chips before eating the celery sometimes, even though it's better for us.
She hopes to see fewer dandelions on lawns and maybe more in kitchens, and that people will start looking at the idea of No Mow May differently. Laura Meter, CBC News, Hazel Grove.
I don't know about that. We were just talking about how at this time of year, there's not a whole lot of flowers that are up yet, not a lot of pollen for the bees. So I don't know. I think I'm going to keep my dandelions on my lawn. I'm a hobby beekeeper, for those of you who don't know.
So basically we have what? Crocuses out.
Crocuses and like tulips. But
kind of.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, we still got lots of time.
Yeah, dandelions aren't even up.
Nope, not fully. Yeah. Hopefully after this weekend, though.
Mm-hmm.
Temperatures look like they're warming up, which will be nice.
Great. Yeah. The long weekend is looking good.
Temperatures look good. Might be a bit unsettled, though, out there for some areas. But let's jump right into the forecast because that's what everybody wants to know, the first unofficial weekend of summer. So as we head through the night on Wednesday into Thursday morning and into the afternoon hours on Thursday, it does look a bit unsettled. We'll continue to see the showers pretty much stick around. The best chance of seeing the sun will be pretty much for the west coast, and then parts of Labrador, you're looking at unsettled conditions as well. Now, temperatures are going to stay cool again, which means the chance of some flurries, especially in the morning and in the evening hours as our temperatures drop, because daytime highs should sit somewhere between 4 and 7 degrees. So whatever does fall at this time period should fall as some showers. As far as the island is concerned, temperatures are going to stay again between 6 and 7 degrees for the west coast, northern peninsula, along the south coast of the island as well. Otherwise, we should reach the double digits just barely, only about 10 degrees. Through the afternoon. Now, as far as Thursday evening is concerned into Friday, the beginning of the long weekend, actually looking like a pretty nice start. Just some cloud cover. Showers possible for Lab West, but like I said, a pretty lovely start. Temperatures will start climbing here as well. 13 to 15 degrees is our daytime highs. Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures starting to reach the double digits, 13 degrees in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, but you are again looking at that potential for some showers. Long range forecast. This is what we all want to look at. Look at that, 15 to 17 degrees through the weekend. It looks like at this point, hopefully that stays, but it does look like we'll see some showers towards the end of Sunday. At this point for St. John's in eastern Newfoundland. Overnight lows 13 degrees on Sunday. That means it's going to stay fairly warm for Monday as well. Temperatures for central Newfoundland and the west look like they should reach the 20-degree mark, but again, some showers certainly possible for the west. And then for Labrador, you're looking at your temperatures climbing as well, 13 to 17, even 18 degrees for your Saturday. Western Labrador, similar forecast, except it does look like some showers are possible on Sunday. A little bit more gray skies and your temperature around 14 degrees. Your nighttime lows, though, are going to drop. Now, this shot. Wow. What does this look like to you, Carolyn?
Like, look at those little doodads that people fiddle with. You know,
really?
What are they called? The fidget spinners.
To me, that looks like a moose.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Wow, this is the iceberg from above in Spiller's Cove. Walter shared this great shot with us, so I had to share it with all of you.
Oh, I love that. I completely see the moose, the antlers, the little moose face.
Can't unsee it.
It's great. It's awesome. Well, that's it for us on this Tuesday evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good night.